I remember 25 years ago telling people we're going to be in trouble when China builds a middle class because they won't need us anymore. China builds a middle class. They won't need to sell all that crap to us. They'll sell it internally. They won't need to fund. They won't need to buy our treasuries. And that's where the tipping point is going to be when China builds a middle class.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Well, you've been to China enough times. My sense of China, and you could tell me and everybody whether or not this is accurate, but I think there are two Chinas. I think there's a working class, if you will, China, a China where there's a lot of industry and there's big pockets of vast regions where it's essentially agrarian and one step above barter. Is that true?
There are certainly the haves and the have-nots from what I saw. You go into even in big cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, you'll see skyscrapers, you'll see enormous facilities around, and you just go slightly outside of that industrial complex, and you see people living in the streets. It's really the haves and the have. You don't have to go way out in the country to see that. You just go right outside of these cities.
Yeah, so are there still big pockets of cities that are virtually empty?
The last time I was there, there was, and that was going back, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I don't know if I would go back now. It's a little uncomfortable. I don't know if I'd go back to China now. So do you think you think the dollar and those capital flows can really collapse again?
It
Or
depends on,
is there
oddly
enough
enough,
safeguards in place to stop it?
I would say that the answer to that question is to what degree can it stop? I don't see it shutting off. And I think the key ingredient is whether or not the Supreme Court rules against these rogue judges. As an investor, I think if I had to put my arms around the biggest factor that should concern investors, it's the growing power of these local, regional, federal judges. Yeah, it's almost like Trump should resign the presidency and become a federal judge, so he could pursue his agenda.
Impact policy, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that Supreme Court decision, I think, and I don't see it on the calendar. They really ought to fast track that because that's the biggest issue. Do we have a presidency like we used to have or not? And to what extent can a president be hampered and entangled? And they don't even have to derail his agenda. They just have to slow it down long enough to have him lose midterm elections.
The guy that I was talking to last week that hated Musk and hated Trump and thought that we were talking about cutting government, cutting spending, I said he had to do it quickly. He's why? And I mentioned the midterms. Oh, it's not important. I said, but it's vitally important
He
because
said the midterms weren't important.
yeah,
Did he
midterms.
have any reason to believe that?
Yeah, he says, it's going to be the status quo. It's going to be the same. I said, no, it's not going to be the same. These committees change. If the left gets in power, the committees change. You have 2 years of nothing. You have 2 years of just, impeachments again. You have the whole thing building up again, and the government goes nowhere. We don't stop this train.
Speaking of which, have you looked at the clips of what's his name, the FBI?
Tell.
Yeah, did you see him
I've seen some of the clips on Twitter, on X.
arguing with
Cory Booker,
yeah, and the other clown that the
Hirosa, the woman from, was it Hawaii? Senator from Hawaii.
yeah, Crazy Maisie, but Schiff,
Oh, I didn't see that one.
he called him a political buffoon. He said, "You're a liar," and I mean, they're shouting at each other. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't stand up and punch him. It was, it was really. This cabinet is not taking. They're not deferential at all when they sit
True,
there. They really come back at these posturing senators.
true, yeah.
Every one of them.
The one with Maisie, he was talking about doing one pull-up, and she said it's not fair to women. He said, but if you want to arrest somebody, if you want to take somebody down, you should be able to do one. You should be able to do one pull-up.